Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Marina Hatsopoulos from Hellenic Innovation Network, which hosts these webcasts with the support of MIT Enterprise Forum Greece and the Consulate of Greece in Boston. And our goal is to help build a bridge between the United States and the Greek startup community. I had the good fortune of meeting two of our entrepreneurs today. Several years ago, I met George from Augmenta and Sotiris from Centaur early in their startups. And more recently, I met with Fotis. And I was so impressed with all of them. Agriculture has a long tradition in Greece. And those of us who spend a lot of time in Greece appreciate the product, the very high quality of the produce there. In recent years, there's been a push to sustainability and also a drive in technology toward artificial intelligence and machine learning. So I'm looking forward to seeing this event and learning how technology has an impact, not just on profitability and productivity, but also on sustainability. During the event, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them into the Zoom chat, or if you have ideas for future events that we can put on, please put those into the chat or reach out to me directly. You can check us out at hellenic.org, where you can find news and events about the Greek startup ecosystem, and you can also register and become part of our community. I'd like to introduce Stratos Efthimiou, who's the Consul General of Greece in Boston. Stratos.
Thank you, Marina. It is my great pleasure and honor to introduce Mr. Christos Dimas, Deputy Minister of Development and Investments, Research, Innovation and Technology. It is a great timing, as only last Monday, Microsoft President Brad Smith announced Microsoft's plans to build a data hub in Athens. Minister Dimas spearheaded a series of actions to promote entrepreneurship in Greece, including tax incentives and the project Elevate Greece, and also initiatives aiming to support innovation and Greece's startups. Before the breakout of the pandemic, he had accepted our invitation to participate in person to an MIT Media Lab event of the Hellenic Innovation Network, and I hope that we will manage to invite him sooner than later to our next in-person event. I would like to thank him for supporting the Hellenic Innovation Network activities and for his participation. I would like also to remind to our guest that he's an MP from Corinth, a region famous for its resins and its agricultural tradition and production. Mr. Minister, welcome. We are always at your disposal in your attempts to reach out to the distinguished academic and research community in New England.
Hello, first of all, thank you very much for organizing, hosting, and inviting me here. It's a great honor and pleasure to be with you and talk about research and innovation in Greece and linking it with agricultural production. We all know that Greece does produce indeed excellent products, quality products, and we export many of them all around the world. But the reality is that we can actually produce even more products if we take advantage of research and innovation. So I would like to start sharing my screen for my presentation. One minute. Okay. Can you see my presentation? I assume that you can. First of all, we don't claim to know everything, so we did need to have a steering committee of experts in the field of research and innovation. So in the beginning of this government's term, we did create the National Council for Research, Technology and Innovation. And in fact, we have Professor Spiros Artavanis Tsakonas, who you might know from Boston in the US. is actually leading the National Council for Research, Technology and Innovation, and we're very proud of that. So within a year, ESETEC, the National Council for Research, Technology and Innovation, has contributed in order to create the National Startup Registry, Elevate Greece, which I will explain a bit later on. We have improved the institutional framework for spin-offs of universities and research centers. We are establishing the operation of technology transfer offices. We have completed structural reforms which give more flexibility to the research centers. We established an additional flagship action related to COVID-19, and we have proposed the composition of the electorate. There is a government scheme for the preparation of the new partnership agreement, which are the ESPA funds, that is the European Cohesion Funds. And we have actually established sectoral scientific councils. So according to sectors, we have more experts helping us and advising us in our policy actions. But of course, apart from the experts, you do need funds. So we have created the Equi Fund, which has 112 million euros in total. It includes more than 150 investors. Many startups have been funded in various sectors, and it's important to know that €1 of investment from Equi Fund corresponds to about 3.7 total investments in companies. So I did mention Elevate Greece previously, and I would like to explain what Elevate Greece exactly does. We started wanting to implement policies that would be beneficial for startups and spin-offs in the country. One of the problems that we faced is that even if we legislated specific incentives for our startup ecosystem, in reality, we didn't know to whom we were speaking to, because there wasn't a registry and there isn't an acceptable by all definition of what companies consist startups. So we started looking at best practices of other countries, and we saw that some other countries had created a national startup registry. This will help us map the Greek startup ecosystem. We will be able to monitor progress through specific KPIs. It will help networking between the ecosystem. We will be addressing local and global investors. Elevate Greece will be in English, and it will allow the state to create tailor-made measures such as financial aid or tax exemptions. So it's an important step for us. Apart from the startups, it will include all of the incubator centers, the accelerators in the country, the venture capital funds. So we're trying to organize much more effectively the Greek ecosystem, which in my view has a lot to offer. And so investors outside Greece will be able to have a peek to the Greek ecosystem, but at the same time, startups in Greece will be able to take advantage of the tailor-made measures by the state, or even help create clusters between them. So it's an important initiative which we are actually presenting with the Prime Minister this Tuesday. So we will have the launch campaign then. Apart from Elevate Greece, for the first time, the Greek state did legislate specific tax incentives for business angels. So 50% of the investment will be deductible from taxable income. Investments, of course, in startups that are registered on the Elevate Greece website. This is an important first step for us. We are considering additional incentives for business angels as well. This is just a non-exhaustive list of the most funded Greek startups and successful exits of the last years. And I'm sure that you will know many of these companies. Most of them have important experience outside the country as well. We wanted, though, to see how we can give an important boost to research and innovation within the country, and at the same time make the country much more attractive for investments in R&D. So one very important decision that we made was to increase the rate, the tax rate in super deductions. It used to be at 30%, and we increased it to 100% of super deduction rates for companies investing in R&D. According to the studies that we have implemented, we expect that this measure will help boost investments in R&D, exceeding 300 million in the next 3 years. So if we want to start being attractive for R&D companies to come establish themselves in Greece, or give more incentives to companies that do invest in R&D within Greece, we have to give them important incentives, and this is a very important incentive which we believe will open new job opportunities for scientists in the country. At the same time, we have been very active in transnational cooperation agreements in research, technology, and innovation, and we are continuously increasing these agreements. In fact, in the previous week, we did sign a science and technology agreement with the United States. It's quite interesting, because when I became Deputy Minister of Research and Innovation, I realized that Greece had bilateral agreements with other countries, but we didn't have a bilateral agreement with the United States. So when the strategic dialogue between Greece and the US started last November in Athens, I did put that on the table. And when I did travel to Washington, D.C. Last winter, I had a meeting with the Chief Technology Officer of the White House, Mr. Michael Kratsios, and I did go to Maryland to visit the National Science Foundation, where we immediately agreed that we wanted to sign a technology agreement, science and technology agreement between the two countries. We would have signed it in March, so it would have been extremely fast for the procedures of the two countries. And we were to sign it in Athens because there was a mission of companies and scientists that would visit Athens at that period, but unfortunately, due to COVID-19, this did not happen. The agreement practically builds a legal framework, a much more effective framework that will allow more bridges between the countries in the field of science and technology. Allow me to say that one of the most important initiatives of the Ministry of Development and Investments has to do with the creation of an innovation district in Athens. What is an innovation district? An innovation district is practically a physical ground of innovation, where you have entrepreneurs or companies that have part of their R&D departments established there. You have the startup community, universities, researchers who try to create synergies between them in order to produce innovative products, services, or even processes. So this is proceeding very quickly through a public-private partnership, and we believe it will become the natural physical ground of innovation, not only of Athens and Greece, but of Southeastern Europe. We also have a very important project in Thessaloniki, where we are creating the Thessaloniki International Technology Center. The project here is a bit different. Apart from we don't have parts of the R&D department of companies, but we actually have all of the research center of companies, and around that we're trying to build the innovation ecosystem there. Both projects have attracted a lot of interest from extremely important companies, not only based in Greece, but international companies. So we believe that these two projects will put Greece in the innovation map of Europe, and not only. Finally, we do believe that innovation should go horizontally to all of sectors of the economy. We recently announced an important initiative with the National Defense Ministry and the Civil Protection Ministry as well, and of course with agricultural. And I would like to specifically point out to 5 initiatives trying to link in scientific research with the agricultural production more effectively. So we do have 3 flagship actions: the creation of national research networks, which practically means that scientists and researchers from different academic institutions come together in order to see how they can produce better and more innovative projects. So one of these flagship actions has to do with honey, the other with vineyard, and the third with olive oil. Then we have a flagship action in the field of agri-food of the region of Crete. Crete, as you know, is one of the most important agricultural areas of the country. Then we are monitoring 185 integrated projects for agri-food in the action of research, create, innovate. This is through the cohesion funds. We have 7 funding applications for innovation clusters on agri-food with a budget of 1.4 million euros. And there's an annual certification of R&D expenses by companies and the agri-food sector. In 2017, we had 6 requests. This number is growing as the years pass by. And we hope, and that is our intention, that we will be able to extend our projects in linking research with agricultural production, because if we want to have, we know that we have quality products in the country, but we have to be more competitive in all of the chain with countries that can produce more products in less square meters. So we're working on that, and we do have the scientific community, a part of the scientific community, working on it. And we believe that within the next couple of years, we will have even more innovative projects in agriculture. Thank you very much. That was it.
Thank you, Minister Dimas. Very interesting presentation. I hope we will be able to take advantage of all these opportunities for the next few years to build up the community there. So before handing it over to our moderator, Apostolos Klontzaris, let me say a few things about him. Apostolos is a growth-minded executive. He's the senior principal in Flagship Ventures. He has, which is a very reputable fund in Boston, as many of you know. He has been the general manager of Bayer in Greece, and he has an extensive experience in business with combined academic, science, and financial backgrounds. Apostolos, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thanks. It's an honor to participate in this webinar today. And it's a pleasure to have all these speakers and participants. I would like to start with a brief introduction. This brief introduction will start with the 3 participants. But overall, I would like to state that we will try here to address 1 or 2 questions for each of the participants. We will allow for approximately 10 minutes for each of the participants. And after that, we will allow for 1 specific question to follow up from the answers of each of the speakers. And then we will have approximately 15 to 20 minutes at the end for general questions and discussion. So without any further ado, I would like to start with introduction by inviting George Varvarelis from Augmenta. George.
Hello, Apostole. Thank you all for having me.
So George, tell us a little bit about yourself, about your company, so that we can then jump into the specific topic.
Of course. So I'm George. I'm an ex-farmer. I'm an engineer. I'm the founder and CEO of Augmenta. Augmenta is automating the most financially impactful operations of a farm, like fertilization or pesticide spraying, through a retrofit camera-based system that is mounted on the top of any farming vehicle, like a tractor. The goal of the company is to significantly augment the bottom line of the farmer through saving unnecessary chemicals, nutrients, and water, and ultimately protecting the environment along the way. The company itself, we've raised 3.2 million in funding so far from American and European venture capitals. We are 23 people, most of whom are based actually in Athens, Greece. We also have a small business development department in the Midwest, in the USA. And this is a really interesting panel for me because most of you guys, the panelists, like you've helped me personally through this journey. So it's really special, and I'm really glad to be here.
Great, thank you for that, George. And of course, as you mentioned, you grew up, you come from Greece, and nowadays you are, I think, somewhere between Greece and US. I mean, COVID is making a little bit of an issue for you, but you have one foot in the US, from what I understand, and one foot in Greece, trying to raise money at the same time, growing the company, right?
Yes, exactly. So I come from the dead center of Greece, the biggest farmland in Greece. It's the area of Thessaly over there. I come from a city called Volos, and my family was running a farm at the in the past, so that was my natural beginning for this company. And currently, today, as you said, like I'm in between Kansas and Athens, trying to find farmers and investors alike.
Right. And with that, I would like to jump into the question or subject for today for you, George. And this has to do with a very popular subject, which is the dichotomy of profitability and protection of the environment. This is something that I would call it the anathema of classic agriculture, and something that modern agriculture needs to address. So what are your views? What's your positioning?
So this topic is really close to my heart because it's one of the main problems that actually Augmenta is trying to solve, and in my honest opinion, it's one of the biggest problems that humankind is facing. I may sound a little bit dramatic, but we are currently truly at a crossroad. On the one hand, you have the evident damage that farming is doing to the environment, right? Like fertilizers. Especially the excessive use of those are a big part of the greenhouse phenomenon. The pollution of the underwater horizon in a lot of places around the world, all the northern states in the United States, Greece, the center of Europe, like Germany and Hungary. So like it's a huge problem. At the same time, you have the fact that is extraordinary, which is like 95% of pesticides do not actually reach their target, and so much more. All right, so there's really no debate about the damage that agriculture is doing to the environment. But the problem is how are we trying to solve this? In my opinion, like today, if you really look at it, you'll see the Green Deal coming from Europe. You'll see similar state regulations coming in some of the states in the United States. Practically, we enforce farmers and pretty radically and pretty fast to reduce their usage of crop inputs like fertilizers, nutrients, and chemicals. Like nutrients, chemicals, and water. But on the other hand, if you go and ask like any farmer, even educated farmers, they will tell you that if you force me to moderate my crop inputs in the farm, this will hinder my productivity, right? And you ask me at the same time to keep producing more food because by 2050 we will have 10 billion people in the world, right? So it's like a very clear and evident problem, which definitely needs a solution. One big part of the problem is definitely cultural. So we need to definitely educate the farmers that it's not the correct way is not necessarily the way that your grandfather or grandmother taught you. This is easier said than done, to be honest. Maybe it sounds like even stupid to some outside people, but it's a real problem. So going back to the solution, I think that governments obviously play a huge role because they go in between the farmer and the consumer. Governments have to incentivize farmers to start using innovation. But interestingly enough, I think that the biggest the heart of the solution will be innovation, and I think that not any innovation. So that's my only point here. Like, it's not good enough to create a cool solution. It's not good enough to create something that will save some pesticides from a small plot farm in California. In my opinion, you have to be very pragmatic, boots on the ground, as I say often. You need to create solutions that are sustainable for the farmer. Sharing one of our company values, you have to create solutions that make farming more profitable for the end customer, so that you see rapid growth and rapid adoption of the technology, because only with rapid adoption you will actually see an impact. If you create a solution that is used by a handful of millionaire farmers in the Midwest, what is the actual impact for the world, right? So that's my takeaway from this. Like, I think that we should be obsessive with the farming side, the farmer side. We should be obsessive of with creating solutions that really help the 1,000-acre farmers around the world, and yeah, that are focused on return on investment and clear-cut value add.
And that's where, of course, Augmenta is striving with a precision solution, right? In order to make sure that the farmer has an on-the-field analysis, real-time view on what to do and how to better overcome the issues of crop protection without creating waste or off-side effects, right?
Yeah. Augmenta was created with a very simple, thinking. When we were driving the tractor, I was actually doing my PhD at the time in embedded systems. So I was driving the tractor. I was talking to farmers in the village in the middle of Greece, and it was really evident that we are not doing something right. Like, it was really evident that we are over applying stuff, or at least we are not putting much thought into applications. So at the same time, we had a very powerful and expensive tool, which was the tractor, and we were only using the tractor to pull and push things, right? Which, in my opinion, was extremely inefficient and stupid, especially because at the same time we were hiring, drone pilots to come from the city, right? Come and fly these small things above our farm, take some pictures, go back in the office, process everything, and get back to you with some, numbers. This, in my opinion, was extremely inefficient. So what we practically did is that we took the technology from aerial imagery. We took the camera-based scanning. And we put it on the top of the tractor, so that practically we do two things at once. We not only go in and do our normal operation like fertilization, but we scan in the front. We understand what's going on in the field, what's going on in every inch of the field, to be honest, to be more specific. And then we apply the correct amount of nutrients, chemical, and water to the correct spot, so that ultimately we have a different treatment for every inch of the farm. And this means traditionally less and significantly less chemicals and water and nutrients, and with even or more productivity at the same time, which is pretty robust in my opinion.
Great. Thank you very much for that, George. I haven't seen any questions coming up during our discussion, but I'm sure something is going to come up. So I will hold any questions for you specifically at the end. And then I would like to move to the next speaker, the next panelist, that's Fotis Fotiadis. Fotis, if you could switch on your camera. Fotis Fotiadis from Better Region.
My camera is on, right? Hi, everyone.
Now you're right. So Fotis, welcome to this forum. Could you please start with a quick introduction about yourself and your company before we move on to the specific subject?
Of course. First of all, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure and an honor to be part of the panel, and a really, really interesting topic of conversation. My name is Fotis. I'm an engineer by training and by practice. I was working in the oil and gas industry before I went on to found Better Origin. And I moved out of Greece when I was around 18 to study abroad. But now I'm looking to start doing interesting things back home. It's something we can talk about. And at Better Origin, what we do is something very simple. We convert food waste back into animal feed and food using insects. We've been going for about 4 years now with a very specific focus around technology and innovation. We've raised about 1 million in private funding and around 3 million, I'd say, in public funding. And we're at a point now that's really exciting. We have solved the science problem, we have solved the technology problem, and we're about to scale and launch our product. Yeah. Very
nice. So are you currently based in Greece? I think you are in England, right, at the moment?
Yeah, we're based in Cambridge, in England.
Right. Well, I'm based in Cambridge, in the United States. So
There you go.
There you go. So right. So here we want to discuss a little bit more the innovation with you, right? Innovation in connection to sustainability, and in your case, to waste management. And the second part of the subject is innovation in connection to flexible business opportunities for the ones who adopt your technology. So tell us a little bit more about it.
Of course, I mean, sustainability is an extremely important topic. I think everyone is kind of finally recognizing that it is existential threat, and it's something that has to be addressed on all fronts, starting from agriculture and technology all the way to finance, for example. And usually when you have a big problem, innovation is a great way to solve it. So solving sustainability through innovation is something that has to happen and has been happening. And it's been evident in what we're doing as well. For example, we started with a problem, that was food waste. And to give you a bit of background, we started by participating in a university organized competition at Cambridge University. And the main topic to solve was food waste. And we looked at all the different options available at the time. And it just didn't make sense why, for example, you would take the food and put it back to the soil, which is not very good at yield. And as George said, we can touch upon profitability. It didn't make a lot of sense. Or you would almost like decompose the food and produce electricity, where, again, there's so many more efficient ways like solar panels, like wind, to do that. And then we looked into some staggering numbers, which, for example, 1/3 of all food produced every single year is wasted, yet we have to increase food production by 70%. And if you look into the food chain, the food system, it's a crazy imbalance on how you have all these nutrients trapped into waste, but then yet again, you need all these nutrients to go back to food production. And to solve this problem, we looked back into nature. And the interesting thing is that if you look into nature, the concept of waste doesn't really exist, because when something biodegrades or decomposes, it either gets absorbed by the soil, which is composting, or insects show up and they convert those wasted nutrients back into fats and proteins that are essential amino acids for animals and humans. So we thought, isn't that elegant and cool? And what we're doing at Better Origin basically is taking that natural concept, putting it together with cutting edge technology and trying to modernize it. Because again, if you go back to the food chain, insects is almost like the missing link between food waste and feed. And technology innovation is what enables it to make it relevant in this day and age.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. And that's very interesting how you have approached it and bring the full-fledged connection to sustainability. Now, what about the business angle, the opportunities that you can provide to those connected to your technology?
Of course. And on this topic, I could not agree more with George. We took exactly the same approach. And if you look into our sector right now, the insect bioconversion sector, it's quite young, it's about 10 years old max, but has been gaining a lot of momentum. And most standard solutions out there right now involve mega factories, right? They're very expensive. They cost 30 to 50 million pounds or dollars to run and operate and scale. And if you look into insect bioconversion, in its core, it's farming. And for us, it made no sense whatsoever why a farmer would have to put up 20 million to do this process. It's hard to scale, it's very hard to operate. And if you look into farming, it's very decentralized, right? A lot of it is on site. And most of these people have the same expertise in farming, and they can operate this process. So instead of going and building a very expensive factory that is hard to scale, we've gone completely the other way. and we tried to productize this concept, right? So we have designed, manufactured, and deployed now a fully autonomous insect mini farm. It is in a shipping container. It is very easy to transport. It's a plug-and-play system. We had a lot of workshops when we're designing this with farmers, because as George mentioned, we want to make sure that what we design and build is with the farmer at the core. And the shipping container means that, again, we can mass manufacture it in one location. We can install it anywhere, whether that is mud, gravel, cement, wherever it is, next to the farm. And on site, we can convert waste to insects. And obviously, this is really important because we allow all these farmers out there who have the same expertise, who want to diversify their portfolios, want to make more money, to be able to have a tool that makes insect processing accessible. And that was the first step of enabling the farmer to do the farming. And the second step in our scale up, we have semi-centralized hubs that we can buy back the full-grown insect from the farmer and process that into different nutrients and different products, whether that is, for example, pet feed, human food, salmon feed, depending on the industry and depending on the focus. And again, to be able to enable that, a solution that can be operated on-site, decentralized by farmer, there was a lot of need for innovation. And a core part of the innovation is computer vision, machine learning, because you can imagine, right? If we go to a farmer with this idea of we're going to install a small insect factory in your farm, A, you can't expect him to be an expert in growing insects. So that all is happening by us remotely, using computer vision, machine learning. And B, you got to make sure that you can monitor the whole thing remotely. You don't want to be sending guys in and out every day to fix things. So 2 elements went into the design of our system. One was, can we make it cheap and robust so farmers can make it accessible? And the second thing is remote operation, remote monitoring, so that we don't require from the user or the farmer to become an expert in that.
What is very fascinating to me, Sotiris, is that not only you touched on the angle of sustainability overall, but you focus for something that is of particular importance for the smallholder farmer. And we have many smallholder farmers in Greece that usually, they struggle to make a living. And, when something like, out of a natural disaster happens, then of course they are in deep debts. So with this approach, you give them the opportunity to make more income, but at the same time, you contribute to an overall change, like a paradigm shift, because as we all know at the moment, a basic part of our protein comes from animals, right? And mainly from cow. And not many people realize that there's a much more efficacious way of producing protein, and this is from insects. So essentially you contribute to a global shift that is just starting to take place. And with this, you give the opportunity, as you said, not to go into mega factories, which now under COVID, most of the supply chains have proven to show that, this is not the best way forward, but also, connect all these smallholder farmers, not only to make something profitable, but to contribute to the overall change in protein production. So
Totally.
So I'm very happy to have you here. I have one question that just came in, so I would like to take it. The question is, what insects do you use? Multiple species, and how about bacteria?
Of course. The insect we use right now to farm is called the black soldier fly, and it's very efficient for this exact reason. It's very good at taking wet feedstocks like food surplus or food waste, and over just less than 2 weeks, between 11 and 14 days, it multiplies 5,000 times body mass and converts those nutrients into fats and proteins. So it's really good for this application. So our farming units, the containers, process that. However, our technology, we treat it as a platform, and we have processed mealworms, we have processed crickets and black soldier flies. And as we enter this really exciting sector, and as you mentioned, is going to be growing and growing over the next years, because the need for alternative proteins is going to be increasing as we approach 10 billion people on this planet. We're looking to use our technologies to be able to process other species as well.
Great. So thank you very much for that, Fotis. I think we've all learned a lot about this very interesting subject, and I wish you all the best going forward. I would like now to switch to our next speaker, Sotiris Bantas. Sotiris?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Apostolos.
So, hi, welcome to this event. Without any further ado, I would like to give you the opportunity to introduce a little bit yourself and the company Centaur. We're talking about a different from the others approach here. You're moving into a post-harvest disease management or disease overall view, and it has its own links to sustainability. But before jumping into the topic, please let us understand a little bit more about your background.
Sure. First of all, it's a big pleasure to be here, and thanks for inviting me in such great company. So I'm Sotiris Bantas. I'm co-founder and CEO of Centaur. Centaur is developing the Internet of Crops. So this is a full stack IoT platform which is leveraging smart wireless sensors and data analytics, which is cognitive technology, to essentially power abundance and waste reduction in the ag supply chain. In a way, you can think of us standing in the way between the farm and Fotis' inputs, unfortunately, because we're trying to sort of reduce the amount of product that's harvested, stored, and spoils, so it doesn't make its way to the end consumer. We're really focused on grains and cereals and the farm to food processor segments of the supply chain, which also includes things like grain logistics and so on. But we're also supporting other crops like coffee, nuts, and so on. So a few words about myself and the background, which led me to co-found Centaur, which you may find interesting. First of all, similarly to George before me, I'm a bit older than him, but I'm also a product of Thessaly, which is interesting plains and more interesting coastline, I guess. I decided with my co-founders to base this company out of Volos, which ended up becoming a very interesting platform for what we ended up building, based on it being, besides being my hometown and the place I grew up in, it has an interesting university with faculties such as the School of Agriculture and Electrical Engineering and Computer Science, which we're drawing very heavily from, but is also very well situated with a lot of agriculture in the area, a lot of food processing along the lines of grain mills and pasta factories and so on. So we have a very interesting platform, a very interesting playground to try out solutions, but also ground truth our solutions and ensure that the technology we produce, which is pretty cutting edge, makes its way to the farm and makes its way to recouping farmer income, but also finds uses in the industry, in food processors and so on and so forth. So we couldn't have thought of a better place to start a company like this. And it's really paying off. Currently, of course, our technology, the things that we build, like this little sensor here, is exported from Volos to more than 25 countries. Our data, our sensors are blipping from different locations, passing inputs to our data analysis and providing insights to farmers, quality control people in food factories, logistics providers, helping them fight the root causes of waste and helping them, more importantly, market their products at the best possible price and at the best possible quality.
Right, and on that, I just wanted to dig a little bit more deeper. I mean, as I said before, for me, this is a post-harvest disease management, which has been the core of many agricultural companies, however, with little success so far. What is the challenges that you face managing the food chain requirements, starting from the farmer to the supermarkets to consumers? It's like it's becoming, especially in Europe at the moment, in European Union, a hot topic because of the residues. So where do you see this going, and how do you, with your technology, can contribute?
Sure. I think there are several facets of this that are there. And I think even COVID-19 has brought some additional considerations and concerns, including our inability or lack of ability to frequently sample products or do the quality control routines that were available to us in the past or before COVID. So for instance, now if grain sitting in an elevator in a silo starts spoiling and creates a food safety liability, there's less frequent inspections from people usually tasked with this sort of thing to discover it early on. So that's where technology can provide solutions that are timely and very important for the integrity of our supply chain going forward. Now, from a consumer standpoint, obviously, there's a growing awareness and I would say push from consumers, and retailers are really reacting on that to understand the provenance and quality of food in a much deeper and better way. So everybody is well versed in using a smartphone for scanning a QR code or whatever other signage on a product and unraveling the data story behind it. So when it comes to food, that essentially means where food came from, how it was processed, if sustainable practices were employed for growing it, and so on and so forth. So that's a big thing. And we like to think that Centaur is providing a very important link for that, in the sense that we enable sustainable practices, we enable waste mitigation. We also have certain use cases for managing and reducing the use of chemicals in the post-harvest stages of crop management and protection. And all that inures to the benefit of the consumer who want to have clean, safe to consume foods with a certain story that comes with them. And we also solve for the provenance in certain unique ways, like enabling our stakeholders, currently buyers of commodities and processors like flour mills and so on, to track where product has been stored and how product is being transported down the supply chain. Eventually, this is information that can be accessed by consumers in a transparent supply chain. So there's a big push, and if you're a consumer, everybody's a consumer of food, do push your brand, the brands that you trust, to enable more transparency, because the technology is there. It's just that those companies need even more motivation for making it happen and having that data made available to consumers in a more transparent manner.
Right. Thank you about that, Sotiris. And I think here we conclude the discussion with all of you, the three speakers. I would like just to say a few words, and then we jump into an open Q&A. First of all, I'm happy to hear both from you and from George. You know, you come from Thessaly. I have, during my time in Bayer, from 2014 until 2019, I was in Bayer as a general manager in Greece. And together with Alexis Koulias, we tried from football to everything that has to do in agriculture to push that region of Greece, which is a centerpiece of agriculture, and I would say also of innovation. And I have been now working for approximately 15 years in the two biggest companies, Bayer and Syngenta, which do come with lots of approaches, but having said that, with traditional approaches, and I'm very excited to see this innovation that is coming from these startups, especially the ones from Greece. That's the one point. The other point is that during my position over a bit more than a year in Flagship pioneering, it's been quite an insight to see what agriculture can offer and how you can bridge things from healthcare and bring them to agriculture in a much easier and efficacious way. Because although we struggle with lots of issues in agriculture, I mean, it is a segment that essentially there's not much research that has taken place. There's not much investment has taken place for R&D over the years, apart from the classic small molecules production from the bigger companies. So I will be following up your developments, and in any way or form, I will be there to try to to be the open mind person to help connect the dots between your aspirations and what can be achieved, especially through the culture, the United States culture here, where lots of venture capital funds are open to invest. Let us now switch to a couple of the questions that I can see from the Q&A. I mean, one first one came a little bit earlier, was from Manos here addressing the density production in Greece, where it says that it is 10 times lower than the one in Holland or Israel, but yet the per unit of ag production and the use of fertilizer, pesticides is about the same. So why is this, and how can we address this issue? Who would like to answer this?
I'm not in the position to answer it. I'm not in the Ministry of Agriculture. What I can say is that the reason why we are trying, as I said before, to link much more effectively scientific research with agriculture has to do exactly with those figures. And I think that these two countries, Israel and the Netherlands, are two extremely good examples to compare with Greece, because they have, in terms of population, we have similar numbers. They have less area to cultivate, but they have much more production. So it is obvious in terms of competition that they are doing something in a better way than we are doing. That doesn't have to do with the quality of the products, but with the process, the technology perhaps they use, and the fact that they have convinced the farmers to use innovative methods. So linking it also to the other question that was put in the Q&A session, it's difficult to convince an older aged farmer to use new technology and different ways from what they have been taught in the past. I don't want to say, and I don't want to sound racist in terms of age, but when you have been taught by your parents and even perhaps your grandparents about a specific way you use in order to cultivate, it is for everybody difficult to change it. Now, although it's not an age issue, there are more and more examples of farmers in the country, throughout the country, that are starting to use more innovative ways. Of course, it would be much more useful if we could teach our farmers about the new methods in certain fields, about how you can take advantage of new technology in cultivating products. And one issue that I have met, not as a deputy minister, but as a member of parliament, is the fact that there is a lack of trust between many farmers. So one of the problems has to do with the fact that we have many small farmers in Greece, which could be an advantage under circumstances if they unite their forces and have working groups that have common strategies. So, but this is not the case. You see that most of the farmers do not want to unite their forces with other farmers, even in the same region, mostly due to reasons of trust. When you have less quantity of products to sell, it's much more difficult to sell outside the country. If though, in cases that I have observed, where farmers start using innovative methods in their fields, perhaps in the beginning there is some distrust by some of the other farmers, but when they see that this leads to more profits, they start asking questions and want to know more and more. And I think that will be the most effective way in order to convince a big part of our farmers to use innovation and technology more effectively in the country.
Yes, thank you for that, Christos. I think I couldn't agree with you more. And I think your initiative will create awareness for all these new startups and, of course, technologies that are coming out. Some of them, of course, coming from Greece. which is of course an honor and a pleasure to have all these individuals, and at the same time we could help each other, because I think in my experience at least, it has to be an open and continuous discussions with the farmers, so that we can take their feedback and they feel they can start trusting something which is out of the norm for them. I mean, I do have the experience with my father. He's an agronomist. He's been in agriculture for all his life. But even as a general manager of a big agricultural company, I couldn't change his mind sometimes. So it's been an experience for me to see how things that the farmers learn are so difficult to change, even if you do have, as I said, the opportunity to be even within the family. So with that, I would say this is an important point, and we need to focus as much as possible. Now, I'm aware we have 3 more minutes until the end of the session, and I don't want to make any further openings for any other questions. We do have many questions, and I would like to distribute this back to the speakers and the panelists to try to address them. But at this point in time, I think we're short of time. So I would like to take.
Can I jump in, Apostolos, just to say one word? Like, why don't we take a page out of US playbook and start creating some extension services, right? I mean, what we are discussing right now is this gap between innovation and farming, and 2 questions address that. I mean, if we really do this, not only through the universities, but also through the municipalities, you can do it through the non-profits, where their main job would be to connect the innovation with farmers through incentivizing, educating farmers. So I think we are quite behind on that, and given the fact that our agricultural engineering is so strong, I think we are missing out on that.
No doubt, and I think this is a very good proposal, and we try to approach it that way also. Yes, but problem again is the time is up, so I have a hard stop, unfortunately. I would like to take the opportunity and thank everyone for this very fascinating webinar and forum, and we will have the opportunity to have a follow-up on this and exchange more, and I will make sure that we can address your questions. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for being with us, and looking forward to see you again soon.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Nice day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.